Hey everybody, welcome to Money's No Object. I'm your host, Dylan Howell. This is episode number 169 of our YouTube channel and podcast, and I cannot be more excited to continue sharing with you guys personal finance topics that I think can be useful for you in your long-term financial journey. Today's topic is all on decreasing the amount of payments that we have in our life so that we can do other things and better things with our money. And so we're going to specifically talk about how when we decrease the amount of payments that we have, when we decrease the amount of debt that we have, we are able to do so many more fulfilling things with our money. And there are certain things that we have to maintain the rhythm of, even though we are out of debt. But we want to continue to maximize on our financial strengths and do some other things along the way that'll be beneficial for us down the road and actually enjoy ourselves as we live out our financial lives. Before we get started though, if you could go down below, hit the big red subscribe button, like this video, leave me any feedback in the comments down below and I'll be sure to respond to anything you leave down there. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify podcast, then be sure to subscribe and leave me a review on either one of those platforms. Follow me on social media at MNO with Dylan, and that's really good supplemental materials to all the things I'm putting out in these long form episodes on YouTube and the podcast every single day. And then if you need somebody to help you to create a plan that is specific to you and your family's needs and keep you accountable to that plan over the long term, then I can do that. Just go to my website, www.mnowithdylan.com. Click on the Work with Dylan tab. You can choose the financial coaching session type that would work best for you, and we can begin pushing towards your long-term financial goals together. So for many of you, I'm sure much of your financial life has been riddled with the idea of debt payments and has been riddled with car payments and student loan payments and mortgage payments even and credit card bills and all these different types of things. And when you work through those things and you get to the other side and you're out of debt and you can actually start doing some things with your money that you could not do before, it's strange. It is strange, and it seems like, okay, I've been in this one place for so long. I'm finally out of this place. I've done some good things to get out of this place. Well, now what do I do? And now what are the rhythms going to be of my financial life moving forward? And it is very common to have these feelings and to have these questions. But I want to help you to answer those questions in today's episode. I want to help you to better internalize what it looks like to be out of debt. And if you are not already out of debt, I want to help you to be motivated towards that place, to be motivated towards getting out of debt and being able to do all of these new and fun things in your financial life. I don't want us to be stuck in debt, and I've talked time and time again about why I don't want you to be stuck in debt. But today is going to be part of that why. It's going to be part of the reason why you don't want to be stuck in debt, because you can't do all of the other things that you need to do in your financial life. You're not going to be able to do all of these things that I'm going to talk about in today's episode if you do not go through the steps of going ahead and getting out of debt. And that's why the financial action plan is so important and so useful, because I give you a roadmap as to at what point you should be trying to get out of debt and then what you should be doing after you get out of debt. And so the financial action plan helps you through this place, but I'm going to be very specific today and really help you to determine where does all this extra cash go, because if you're out of debt, you're likely going to have extra cash laying around that you didn't have previously. And so we're going to talk about where that extra cash is going to go. We're going to talk about how we are going to go about allocating that cash, how we allocate that cash changes over time as we meet different milestones. And we're going to talk about maintaining good financial habits and maintaining great financial balance all the way through, because we need to be maintaining financial balance regardless of where we are in the financial action plan. We need to be giving, saving, and spending in differing proportions at all times. But those proportions can change based on where we are at in the financial action plan. And one of the biggest hurdles that you can get over is the getting out of debt hurdle. And that makes one of the biggest differences when it comes to how we go about allocating our money and how we change those proportions by which we are giving, saving, and spending at any one point in time. So we'll start with the first boring thing that you should keep doing if you go ahead and you get yourself out of your current debt situation. You're completely out of debt. What do you need to continue doing? Well, you need to continue budgeting, right? Budgeting is such a big part of us trying to get out of debt because it's us allocating our money, telling our money where it should go. And just because you're out of debt, just because your debts are paid off, doesn't mean that you should stop budgeting, because a really easy way to go back into debt is to stop budgeting. A really easy way to go back into debt is to not know where your money is going. When you don't know where your money is going, then you can look up and it can be gone, right? You can easily reach back for debt when it comes to an emergency situation. You can reach for credit cards in situations where they are not necessary because you don't have the cash available for yourself to do whatever you were trying to do. And so you easily reach for debt. It becomes real easy to reach for debt when you are not budgeting. And so we don't want to allow you back into that place. We don't want to allow you back into being in debt and being comfortable with debt. And one of the easiest ways to do so is to continue the habit of budgeting. And hopefully you've built a strong habit of budgeting to this point. Hopefully as you were paying off debt, you were budgeting effectively in order to do so, in order to pay off debt. And then after you have done that, you can continue in that way. But now you're not budgeting to see how much you can put on your debt payments. Now you're budgeting to see, how much more can I give? How much more can I spend on myself? Can I enjoy? How much more can I put away in savings or in investments? How much more can I do these different things that are not debt payments, right? I want to be doing these things that are not paying off debt because now I'm out of debt and I'm supposed to be able to enjoy my money now. I'm supposed to be able to maximize on my financial position now. And that's exactly what I want you to do. And so we're going to talk past budgeting, right? Now, how do I go about allocating my money? What do I need to do with my money once I am out of debt? Now, in the same way the financial action plan prescribes you to do so, you should build up a fully funded emergency fund of 4 to 6 months of household expenses when you get out of debt, when you get out of consumer debt other than your home. Now, this doesn't sound like having fun with your money. I understand, right? This doesn't sound like really maximizing what you have too much. But we've talked before about how emergency funds are insurance against tragedy, right? We are putting this money away to insure against certain tragedies that could occur in our lives. And what emergency funds do is they keep us from going back to debt, right? They keep us from going back into debt. And we don't want that. First and foremost, we have to put up these safeguards between us and going back into debt. That's why we keep budgeting, because it's going to help us to keep from going back into debt. That's why we build up an emergency fund, because it's going to help to keep us from going back into debt. And so if we do these things, we put up these safeguards, then we can be better equipped to actually maximize on our financial situation as we move forward. So we need to build up that emergency fund. We really need to get that savings built up. So in a savings account, a money market account, something of the like, just put the money away. This is not to be invested. This is to be saved in a savings type account, right? And so we need to do that and have that good pad, that good cushion between ourselves and potential tragedies that could occur in our life. And so we need to make sure when we do get out of debt that we're budgeting heavily towards getting that emergency fund built up. And once you get that emergency fund built up, then you can have a really good sense of financial security, right? Now, you owe nobody money and you have money yourself sitting in the bank in case something does go wrong, right? It's a far cry from being in a place where you are in debt and you don't have much, if any, money in savings, right? This is a far different situation than maybe you once were in, or maybe you're in that situation now. I don't want to run past that. I don't want to assume that you're in these particular situations where you are out of debt now, right? Even if you're working out of debt, I want you to know what the next steps are. I want you to know what to look forward to and what you should be doing next to build on your financial successes. That way, once you do get to that place where you're out of debt, it's just second nature and you can make the decisions just right off top and go right into what the financial action plan is teaching and what I am telling you to do on a day-to-day basis. So having that emergency fund built up is extremely useful and can allow you to tragedy-proof your home from things like another 2020 occurring and maybe a job loss like that, or some loss of income, decrease in hours, whatever it may be, right? Building the emergency fund is extremely useful. So that's the first place that you are able to build something up that you didn't have before based on the debt payments that you were making. Now you just reallocate that capital towards your emergency funds. Then obviously the sixth part of the financial action plan, it coincides with the seventh, but the sixth is to invest at least 15% of your income for your future, right? Investing it in retirement accounts, brokerage accounts, rental real estate, things that are going to go up in value over time at a good clip. And it coincides with the seventh part, which is to pay your home off early. So now, without having payments, without having debt payments, now we can really get into a place where we are building money for our future. We can really get into a place where we can maximize what we have and grow what we have over the long term. And that's one of the first things you need to do. Obviously, like I said, you need to budget, you need to build up that emergency fund, but you also need to get to a place where you can actually start putting a fair amount of money away, at least 15% of your income away for your long-term future. And again, I know this doesn't sound sexy. It doesn't sound extremely attractive. It doesn't sound like something that is gonna win big in the short term, or it's not going to provide a lot of short-term gratification. We'll get to some more short-term gratification type things, right? But you need to be putting this money away. You need to be reallocating this capital that you had going into debt payments, reallocate that money into investing for your future, into building up assets for your future. That way you don't have to be a struggling retiree, that you can retire with dignity, that you can enjoy your latter years and have plenty of money to create the income that you need in order to live on later on. So you really need to increase those retirement contributions. You really need to maximize what's available to you, whether it be Roth IRAs or 401ks, or if you have an HSA available to you, or investing for your kids' college, whether it be in 529 plans or just in regular brokerage accounts, whatever it is, right? You need to be investing for the future of yourself and your family. Obviously, your retirement comes before your kids, and your retirement also comes before your health savings. But you do need to be putting money away for the things that you possibly can be putting money away for. And that will really pay off over the long term, because you can invest those things in assets that are going to increase in value and continue to compound your money into the future. And it will also make it easier to throw large amounts of money into investments, or any extra money that you get into investments, because when you're in debt, you feel this need to, when you get extra money, or when you have some money laying around, you're like, hey, I probably need to be putting that towards this debt or that debt. Or, if you're somebody who's trying to invest and pay off debt at the same time, you're having to make those allocation decisions. Well, I leave you, no choice in the financial action plan what the decision is. The decision is we're going to pay off debt first before we are heavily investing for our future. And so now you can really allocate that money into the investments that are going to increase in value over time. And then obviously that seventh part of the financial action plan, which is paying off your home early, you can be adding extra to your monthly house payment. And that can be extremely beneficial for you and your family, because if being out of debt and having extra cash flow just based on consumer debts, based on car payments and credit cards and all those different types of things, and student loans, right? How much more do you think you'll have to spend on whatever you want, or increase your investing, or increase your giving, or whatever it may be, if you pay off your home? If you pay off your home, that is most people's biggest expense that they have on a month-to-month basis. And so you'll be keeping so much of your income, right? You'll be keeping so much of your income if you get that home paid off. And so all of these things that I've talked about to this point, right, that we can do if we are out of debt, are really, really beneficial financial things that can really help us, right? These are financially wise things to do that can allow us to plan well for our long-term future. And that kind of gets me to what is the next thing? What is the next thing that you need to be doing if you have all your debts paid off, if you are doing these things, if you have been budgeting, if you've built up your emergency funds, you're going through the process of investing and really putting money away for your long-term future. What else should you be doing? Well, you should be actively planning for your future. And what do I mean by actively planning for your future? Well, you need to be actively planning for things like life insurance. You need to have life insurance in place. And if anybody relies on your income, if you are a parent to children, if you are a spouse, and your spouse relies on your income, or you have a mortgage that needs to be paid off eventually, you need to have term life insurance. And so really planning for your future in that way and getting an adequate amount of term life insurance put in place for you or you and your spouse is so huge, because anybody who relies on your income, anybody who relies on you to live, and then you don't, and then you pass away early or at some point unexpectedly, then it is good to have that set aside for the future of those that you love, and to make life easier for them and take a little bit of the financial burden off of them moving forward. So that's something you can do with the money that you have. You can start to plan for your future. So not just life insurance, but also getting things in place as far as your estate planning documents and having all those things lined up to where you know what happens to what you have when you are gone, and you assign somebody who is going to be the executor of that, or if you have a trust, your trustees and all these different types of things, right? You need to be actively planning for your future. You need to know maybe not exactly what's going to happen when you're gone, but you need to start making some of these concessions. And the reason that you want to do this once you're out of debt is because once you're out of debt, then you're actually going to start building assets. You're actually going to start building a financial life that is interesting, right? A financial life that is actually intriguing to people who may want to do mischievous things, right? So you want to start planning for your future. You want to start making sure that there are safeguards in place, and you know what's going to happen to your money when you are gone. You know what's going to happen to your children or to your spouse when you are gone. So making those plans for your future is extremely huge, and it's extremely huge regardless of if you're in debt or not, but especially once you're out of debt, you need to make sure that you are getting these plans in place and really making all of the concessions that you need to make for your long-term future. Now it's about to get fun, okay? I know I've talked about some financial things and then some things about your long-term future and planning for your future that may not be the most attractive to somebody who just got out of debt and just got out of this portion of life that was very taxing and very difficult to work through. But something else you should be doing if you get out of debt is you should start enjoying yourself, okay? What I try to tell you when you're trying to get out of debt is that you need to really be working hard. You need to really be putting every extra dollar. You don't need to be going on vacation. You don't need to be eating out. You don't need to be doing anything extra, right? You need to be getting out of that situation where you are in consumer debt, and that debt is holding you back from building the financial life that you want to build. But once you're out of debt, you can enjoy yourself. Okay, now, what am I not telling you to do? I'm not telling you to go crazy. I'm not telling you to go and become a different person and go buy the biggest and baddest and the nicest things from everywhere and just buy. That's not what I'm telling you to do. What I'm telling you to do is to start allocating some of the money that you have towards enjoying yourself, towards doing things that you want to do. Right? If it's been a while since you've been on a vacation, save up to go on a vacation with your family or with your kids or with your spouse or with your significant other. Whatever you are trying to do in this particular place that you are going to be able to enjoy yourself, go do it, right? But now, instead of doing it on debt and regretting the fact that we did it when we get home from a vacation, now you'll be able to go on vacation, pay for it in cash, have it planned out, how you're going to spend your money, how much money you are going to spend, and be able to come back home and be able to still live a comfortable, good financial life and build on the progress you had already made before you left for vacation, right? You don't have to deal with those ramifications into the future because we're not going into debt to try to do fun stuff. We're going to do everything on a cash basis. So go on a vacation. If you need to upgrade in car, save up and buy another car, right? Buy a car that is new to you. Maybe another used car that's got a couple years and a few miles under its belt, but is a really nice car. And then you can constantly work towards upgrading your vehicles over time until you do get to that place where it may be okay for you to buy something that is new, but as long as you're doing so in cash. But you need to be enjoying yourself, right? If there's something that you need or something that you really, really wanted that you just couldn't justify when you were in debt, well, now is the time. Now is the time to save up and figure out how you are going to purchase that thing, how you're going to do that thing. If there's something you wanted to do for your child, if there's some renovations that you want to do around the house, save up and do those things. Don't let debt be an option, though. That's something you need to make sure that you do. Don't let the opportunity to get back into debt trick you into coming back to the dark side. Don't let it take you back to the place where you didn't want to be in the first place. You wanted to be out of debt, you're out of debt, and you need to stay that way if we're going to continue building a strong financial life, right? But enjoy your money, enjoy what you have. This is part of financial balance, right? We have giving, saving, and spending, right? We've talked about basically all three. Now we're going to dive a little bit more into giving here in a minute, but we've done our savings, right? We have emergency funds set up. We're saving for our futures. We're doing that, right? And we need to spend some money on ourselves to maintain balance. We need to spend some money on ourselves in order to continue enjoying some of what we work for and not getting into this rut of just giving and saving and never really reaping any reward in the short term from what we make. Now, I'm a very long-term oriented person, but in the short term, it's still nice to reward yourself. It's still nice to allocate some money to go do some things, or allocate some money in order to do something that you've wanted to do, buy something you wanted to buy. By all means, enjoy yourself. It is your money, and this is the time to do it once you are out of debt. Now, also when you're out of debt, now you have money to be able to make a difference in the lives of others, right? It's hard to help people when you haven't helped what's going on in your own household, right? I'm not one of those people that says you have to help yourself first or love yourself first, right? We do need to be looking out for our brothers and sisters, but it is very difficult to make any large financial difference in the life of somebody else or in the life of an organization that you care deeply about, unless you have the financial situation to do so. And so what we want to do is we want to build this financial foundation of having emergency funds, not having any debt, be saving and investing for our future. And then we can get into this place where we can make a big difference in the way that we give. We can give money extremely generously to the things and the people that we care about and start making some big differences in their lives. Look, I understand if giving has not been a regular habit in your life or a regular rhythm of your life. For a lot of people, it's not. But I'm telling you, if you want to maintain balance in your financial life, right, giving is something that is absolutely necessary. Because if we are just saving / investing and spending everything that we have, then everything that we have is only about us, right? It's a selfish endeavor. We lack contentment sometimes in that place when our money is all about ourselves, okay? So to be giving, to be generous with what we have, right, can allow us to build up contentment for ourselves because we know that the money's not all about us. We see the impact that our money can make in other places, and that is extremely important, okay? So for no other reason than the fact that it allows you to build a stronger financial foundation for yourself, giving is extremely important. Obviously, if you're a Bible-believing Christian like myself, or you have some other religious conviction around giving, then giving can be important to you for a different reason. But other than that, it is just important in building a strong financial foundation. It's important in living a financial life that can persist, because it is far easier to fall off the rails financially when everything is about you, when it's a selfish endeavor, when you're constantly just trying to build the biggest barns, as they may say, right? Build the biggest bank accounts, build everything up for yourself and spend all the money on yourself and do all the things for yourself. If you're not doing stuff for others, right, then you're never going to really understand the fragility of what you have. You're never going to understand the fact that what you have can crumble, and you should be thankful for what you have. You should be grateful for what you have, and you should be content in the situation that you're in. Even though it may not be as great as you want it to be, you should still be happy with what you have and enjoy the money that you have been given moving forward. And so giving is extremely important, and I would implore you to find some way to give, and give in a significant amount, an amount that is going to make a little dent in your budget, right? I've talked about, as Bible-believing Christians, we're called to the tithe, and then offerings above the tithe if you're in a position to do so. And so the tithe is 10%, right? So if you can give at least 10%, that's a significant amount that you will feel, 10% of your income. And then anything above that is at your own discretion. But All I'm saying here is that giving is a huge part of our financial lives, and it should be, if you are out of debt, it should be on the docket as to something that you are going to do in a higher amount given the fact that you're out of debt. Because again, we should be giving, spending, and saving at all times to maintain financial balance. And so while you were getting out of debt, you still should have been giving in some proportion, although a smaller proportion. But now you can allocate more of your money in that way towards others, towards these causes and these people that you care about, and really begin to make a difference. And I promise you, you will not regret allowing your money to work for somebody other than just yourself. So look, if you heard nothing else today in this long rant as to all the things you can do with your money after you get out of debt, or the things that you should be doing with your money after you get out of debt, if you hear nothing else, hear this. Being out of debt gives you options. Okay? Being out of debt allows you to do things with your money that you could not do before. When I talk about financial freedom, when I talk about the freedom to spend our money the way we want to spend it, when I talk about the freedom to give our money in outrageous ways, when I talk about the freedom to invest large amounts to build up money for our future and be able to retire with dignity and be able to have money to leave to our children or pay for our kids' school or whatever it may be, right? The freedom to do those things stems from not being a slave to debt, right? It stems from not having that bondage of debt holding us down month after month, year after year into oblivion, right? And so when you break those chains of debt, then you have options. You have the ability to do some new things. And I just want you to experience that. I want you to experience that place of being able to do more with the money that you make. I don't want you to stay in this paycheck to paycheck cycle. I don't want you to keep making debt payments until the cows come home. I want you to make a change. I want you to do something different in your life, get out of debt, and be able to have options to do things with your money that maybe you never thought were possible. And so if you can just work through it, put your head down. For most people, right, you can get out of debt in 2 years or less if you really put your mind to it, if you sold things that you needed to sell, if you really just allocated all of your extra income to the debt, you didn't do anything that was frivolous or you can do it in a relatively short amount of time. If you can stay disciplined for that amount of time, you have the rest of your life to reap the rewards and reap the benefits of financial freedom, to reap the benefits of actually having options. And I'm telling you, if you've never been in that place, it is worth trying to get to. But just remember that in doing so, we need to make sure that we're maintaining our financial balance. We need to make sure that we have the goal in mind and that we're working towards this goal, not just so we can be wealthy, not just so we can have security, but so we can have freedom, so that we can have options, and so that we can do good in the lives of others and the lives of ourselves as we move forward in our long-term financial freedom journey. And hopefully at some point we can look back and go, getting out of debt was the best thing that I ever did. Because I can tell you from experience, I look back and I go, getting out of debt was one of the most freeing, awesome things that I ever did. And I wouldn't change it for the world. Even though it's short-term pain, it makes for long-term gain. So thanks for watching this video. If you could go down below, hit the big red subscribe button, like this video, leave me any feedback in the comments down below, and I'll be sure to respond to anything you leave down there. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify podcasts, then be sure to subscribe and leave me a review on either one of those platforms. Follow me on social media at MNO with Dylan, and that's really good supplemental materials to all the things I'm putting out in these long-form episodes on YouTube and the podcast every single day. If you need somebody to create a financial plan that is specific to you and your family's needs and keep you accountable to that plan over the long term, then I can do that. Just go to my website, www.mnowithdylan.com. Click on the Work with Dylan tab, and you can choose the financial coaching session type that would work best for you, and we can begin pushing towards your long-term financial goals together. So tune in tomorrow as I talk about your financial fears and why many of them are lying to you, why fear is a liar in your financial life. So thanks for tuning into this episode of Money's No Object. I'm your host, Dylan Howell. God bless.